Hi, my name is Costerius, and this is my submission video for AGDQ 2020. I'll be submitting Octahedron any percent DJ. The DJ stands for double jump. It's a specific glitch to an older patch that saves 3 minutes over the any percent for the current patch. So it's quite a new run. We've been started routing it around a week ago since we've discovered this glitch and started to down patch. So it's quite new. So I will be starting as soon as I hit the difficulty selection, so that will be in 3, 2, 1, go. And for some reason I like to count myself down. So the first thing we'll be doing is skipping the cutscene. You can skip it at 4.5 seconds on the dot. Let me just get some lights on. There aren't enough neon lights in this game, so I like to add a few more. So this is a primarily vertical 2D platformer. It's developed by Demomonde Games, who developed this in 4 years for the PC, as well as the Xbox, PS4 and Switch. But we downpatch it, so we're running on the PC. The main gimmick is that you get to surf on these platforms. You can construct platforms underneath your feet and have about 2 seconds to surf on them. I will be trying this double jump, and I'll explain it in a moment. Damn it. There we go. This is actually the first try of this submission video. I can't believe I got it so quick. Anyway, so the double jump I will try and explain. Due to what developers tend to call coyote frames, the frames you have where you can still jump in midair after you've fallen off a platform, you can actually double jump. It doesn't look like a double jump, but it technically is. You get pretty much nearly double the height you should be getting. Because of that, there's so many skips, as you can imagine, in a vertical platformer. And the setup I had there is that you have a roughly 6-frame window to do so off of a platform you've made. It tends to be a lot more lenient off a platform you make. You can do it off the ground. However, a grounded one is practically frame perfect. You have to... Just getting that. You have to... This one's quite hard as well. I'm getting this. This is strangely difficult today. I'm getting warmed up, don't mind me. I'm still continuing this. So, a double jumping off the ground takes about 3 frames, so it's practically frame perfect. You can do it in certain scenarios, but we now have a setup where you put your platform just on the edge of a platform. Well, another platform. And you can do a platform double jump that's way easier than a grounded one. And that was the setup I was doing. It's very new. I'm still grinding it out, so this run is getting more and more optimized. Because it's quite new, I'll be submitting quite a conservative estimate of around 1 hour 8 minutes. The current record is 1:01:14 that I have in my splits. However, I expect that to go under an hour very, very shortly. It's just, like I keep mentioning, it's a very new run. The game in general, I've been running for 1.5 years, so anything that isn't double jump, I've been doing for, like, I've spent around 500 hours in this game. Anyways, that is the main new stuff explained in terms of the double jump and how recent it is. I haven't really explained what else I'm doing in this game, so I'll try and do that as well. These bulbs you break release flowers, and you need a certain amount of flowers to finish each world. And you have to play every level as well. You can't skip levels entirely. So there are certain tricks that you can't do if they skip too much. But as you can see in this level, I skipped a whole lot. There are a bunch of platforms you're meant to load. You might have seen those sort of glowing green platforms that sort of look like they're charging up when you go left and right. You're meant to be using those for platforming, but because of the double jump, you can very, very easily skip them. However, every level, it's quite hard to keep up with this game, I'll be honest. For the first world at least. Every level introduce something very new. So this one, thankfully this one isn't too complicated. These red orbs hurt you, and you have some elevators you put your platform in that will shoot you upwards. and you also have some moving platforms that you can move with, well, your own platform. But yeah, pretty much every level introduces something new. So it's a pretty interesting platformer to watch. You're not just doing the same thing over and over and over again. Now, here comes some damage abuse. The damage abuse in this game is very lenient. You do get stunned, so you can't do any inputs for a little bit, but your stun is about half a second, whereas the actual invincibility you get from getting hit is 2. So you have a whole 1.5 seconds to do whatever you want. So if there's a wall of enemies that you can't get through without getting hit, fine. Tank hit, you got 3 hearts, and go on your merry way. So you take advantage of that quite a lot. You can take advantage of that if you get hit accidentally. You can normally just speed on through any other enemies if you need to. But we take advantage of it there for the sake of, well, speedrunning. So this level, I like to compare it to Super Mario Galaxy 2, or if anyone's played it, Mighty Switch Force. If you put your platform down, it switches those, what I like to call phase platforms. I didn't quite get this the way I normally do. You know what? It's fine. You can just double jump it. Normally we do a slightly different technique for that, but double jump's a nice backup. The funny thing is, the double jump is actually very good as a safety buffer if you mess up any of your jumps or tricks. So it's a hard trick to get in terms of the leniency in terms of frames, but once you get used to it, you can start using it as backup. So all the double jumps I've been doing so far save, you know, sort of like 4 to 8 seconds average. The double jumps in this level saves a whole 30 seconds. You skip an entire section of it. In fact, 2 entire sections of it. So you're meant to go to the left there, skipped. There's this bit where you're meant to let some platforms move around. You do a pixel jump there where you land a few pixels next to that laser. It's quite a tight room. And then you skip it. Final section, big, what's essentially an auto-scroller. You're meant to let this platform gradually rise up as you change the phase of those platforms. I skipped that as well. And apparently that was a gold, so that's nice to go on top of it. So the last level, unfortunately, a few flowers got missed en route. If you miss them significantly, then it's better just to continue if you've got enough flowers to collect to the end. I normally need about 20 in this level, but 27's fine. This level is very much there aren't many obstacles. It's purely platform up vertically and dodge enemies. Some levels are a little more puzzly. This level is a lot more focused on dodging enemies that keep chasing you. One thing I haven't mentioned too much, and it's used a lot in this level, is the concept of boost jumping. You might see that I'm tapping quite quickly, and that's because, similar to the way double jumping works with coyote frames, you can jump off a platform as soon as you put it down. You're not really meant to. You're meant to sort of wait until you land on the platform, jump again. That's how you'd play casually anyway. But you can just very quickly, very rapidly tap platform and jump at the same time. Around 4 times a second is sort of like the best rhythm to it. And you can go upwards very, very quickly. So you do that a lot in that level. And that's the end of World 1. So the whole time, no enemies you could kill, nothing you were destroying. Now they've given you a shot, so you can shoot out the bottom of your platform. So this is used in a lot of different ways. You can destroy enemies, you can activate a switch. In fact, I did 2 in one go there, the game demonstrating you how it works. And you can destroy these platforms as well. So, like, pretty much in the first few seconds, it's already introduced you to the 3 ways you use this platform, which is nice. And it's a very good level design. Now, I'm going to do the floor is now lava. I'm not going to land for a good while, for a specific reason. These lasers up here, they warp you to your last place you landed, which is right there. I also activated a switch that lets me come all the way up here. Otherwise, I would have been blocked off. So a lot of things happen in quick succession there to allow me to get to the second part of the level all in one go. That sound is a lot of destructible platforms getting destroyed in one go. So funny enough, double jump is less used in World 2. It just so happens that both either the design of the level doesn't facilitate it, or you actually get enough platforms it doesn't matter. You start World 1, they try and keep it simple. You only have 1 or 2 platforms. That level, as you can see, you have 4. Next level, you have 10. Double jumping is, you know, it slopes downwards in its utility when you get more platforms. If you have 10, there's no need to double jump. You've got plenty. So it's not really used in this level or that one. There's still plenty of other things going on here. You'll see I'll manipulate these enemies coming up, these keys that you have to break. You have to break 4 of them. They run away from you if you're at a certain vertical height. So you pretty much just get very close to them, let them run away, and shoot them just as you catch up. But they're normally a pain. It's actually part of the reason why they give you 10 platforms. You don't need it for platforming. You just need it for shooting. But you get used to it after a while. Let's see if I can snipe this. I did. That's nice. That enemy was actually hiding a crystal / flower, so you pretty much try and get as much as you can. The routing is generally set in stone. However, as well as just mistakes, meaning you need to keep on your toes of where else to collect flowers, there is a slight element of randomness to the bulbs. Around, I'd say 5% of bulbs have a percentage chance of giving you a flower or not. So if you're very, very unlucky, you can destroy all the same bulbs the whole time and only actually get, you know, you might miss like 4 flowers when you should normally get those 4 flowers. It means there's a lot of on-the-fly routing, which keeps you engaged. You need to be mindful of what you're collecting throughout pretty much the whole run, but very much so in the last level. If you don't get enough flowers by the end of it, you just have to play that level again. Now, the gimmick in this level is these slingshots, or the main one at least. There are these crushers as well, but the slingshots are the main feature, I guess. I'm also gonna, just about didn't get that checkpoint. There's a minor optimization to collect flowers and warp to that checkpoint at the same time. Let's hope I get this. There's a lot going on here. Yeah. There. Took a bit of setup, but I got it in one go. So, you do a few things. You do a platform cancel, which involves shooting and immediately cancelling a platform so that you can start moving again. You get hit by the slingshot so that you can be as high as possible. You sort of bonk your head on the crusher so that you can be at a very high position to activate the slingshot again. And when you get hit, you also jump. If you jump at the same time as getting hit by a slingshot, you add both their momentums together and get some crazy, crazy height. And all of that in one go basically means you skip to the end. You don't have to do a bunch of side stuff. So a lot of things have to align for that to work, but thankfully they did. You also have a very narrow platform to land on once you're up there without getting hit. As you can probably tell, a lot goes on in this game. It's quite a... There's not much downtime. There's about 8 seconds between transitioning between levels, so commentary is just sort of... there's a lot of commentary to say, basically. However, there are certain levels where either there isn't much speed tech or there's not anything completely new introduced to the level. Essentially, this level coming up is a good candidate for having a little bit of a break, donations being read, that sort of thing. So, essentially, you're collecting a lot of flowers. It has a nice gimmick of once you get to the bottom right, you activate the switch and the whole level design changes because of these force field like auras. But otherwise, there's no actual speed tech. Other than boost jumping, to be honest. So this is a good time to just read other things. Just to generally speak about the game itself and the developer, I sort of mentioned it as a one-man indie game developer. He loves GDQ and he very much wants to commentate. I've run this game at 3 events, I believe, 2 UK events and ESA Winter as well. And he did some commentary for ESA Winter and it went down really well. So he'd very much be interested in doing the same thing for a GDQ over like Discord or equivalent technology. Also, as a minor aside, the music is a banger. Like all of the music. The solo developer did about a quarter of it, and the other 3/4 is done by Chipsaw, you might have heard of from Super Hexagon and Dicey Dungeon, and a few other lesser known composers. Andre Sabota, Derek Howell, I believe are the 2 other ones. But yeah, they're all bangers. And let's skip all the way to the first checkpoint. That is entirely not intended. Similar to 1.5, you skip like half a minute's worth of content there. It's one of the 2 major skips in the whole game that's introduced by Double Jump anyway, because there are a few others. You can probably tell generally that there aren't any major glitches in this game. You're not going out of bounds. There's a lot of just exploits of physics and general optimization. So you're not going to get any crazy, I beat this level in a second because I sort of warp up to the top. But some people like that. Some people like out of bounds. Some people prefer you to stay very much inbounds. So it's a very inbounds game. It's also a very marathon safe game. Not a whole lot can go wrong. The worst thing you can do is not collect enough. And all that means is you have to play a level again. Which isn't the end of the world. Most of the levels are at most 1.5 minutes. So that's all the time loss you can really get. So the marathon estimate of 1 minute and 8, I was about to say 1 minute and 8 seconds, 1 hour and 8 minutes is very, very conservative, to be honest. I should be safely getting under 105 in every run. So this level again, the penultimate level of most worlds is a good chance to keep an eye on how many collectibles you need to get and make up for anything you haven't got. So I'll be collecting quite a few flowers because the last level you want to go in with as little as possible. I'm also going to be trying something quite hard in the last level, so it would be pretty cool if I get it. No worries if not. I'm very much of the mantra that marathon runs should try and show off as much as they can. You want to show off all the cool tech, even if the cool tech might not work or it might take a few tries. It's not what you might do in a world record run if you're trying to avoid very, very hard tricks. But I think in a marathon setting, unless it's prone to ruining a run, you should try and do everything. And that's what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and do everything. It looks like I've missed quite a few flowers, so I'm going to have to collect way more here than I normally do. But that's fine. It kind of happens in marathons when you're trying to commentate as well. But I pretty much know, well, I know where all the flowers are, so that's a good start. So I know how to route more in. And generally speaking, it doesn't waste too much time. None of the flowers are too far off route because they're kind of meant to be, generally speaking, where you're going. They're not put far out of the way. That's a nice little exploit of these platforms they give you. It was going to be, but I quite didn't get it. Second time I got it. So I've already got 16. There's not quite a flower counter, but you might notice below the hearts and below the triangles, which are some extra bonus collectibles you don't need to get, there are a bunch of sort of like cubes, and that's my collection. That's my flower count, pretty much, just in a bit of an obscure view. So I've got 19 at the moment. I've now got 21. I should hopefully have 22 shortly. I do indeed. So that's enough. I didn't have to divert too much. 15-second time loss, but it's not the end of the world. Gotta be positive. Now, I'm gonna try something extra dumb. I couldn't do it then because I had to root more flowers, so my extra dumb trick previously could not be done. But this one, I will try. very close. I'm going to try it one more time and then I'll just take the beam of shame. Ooh. No, I'm trying this a third time. I'm determined and I'll explain why. Nah, okay. I'll have to take the beam. So the reason why I was trying to do that is to skip this. That takes about 5 seconds to play out that whole animation. And as you can imagine, you don't want to play that animation. However, if you miss it, it's kind of shameful to miss it because you have to go all the way back around again. And if you hit it, it's also shameful. So you want to get that trick first try. It only saves 5 seconds, so having to do it over and over again is kind of silly, but mistakes happen. Like that. Thankfully, that actually dying there was the quickest way to get back to where I wanted to be. Ooh, that was a bit silly as well. So I will explain the power-up we just got that I was trying to avoid. Is the beam. It's very much like the shot I just had earlier, except it shoots all the time. So it's very effective against enemies. It is also very good as something to charge up buckets. I think they're more likely meant to be batteries, but I just call them buckets. Ooh. Taking a few more hits than I should do, but I should be fine. I can just avoid things just about like this. Avoided that as well. Thankfully, your hitbox is actually smaller than it looks. Your head doesn't count as a hitbox. So some things might look a bit glitchy, like I should have got hit. That might explain why. Your head doesn't count. Now this level is one of my favorites. There's a lot of minor optimization involved in here. So those are the buckets I was talking about. I won't charge them again. You're meant to. This level is full of charging and uncharging buckets. However, double jump means you can avoid most of them. The force field looking platforms aren't necessary because you just double jump all the way through. So similar here, I'm going to double jump again. Break a few bulbs to get a few more platforms. You're meant to charge a bucket over there. I'm not going to do that. You're meant to go all the way to the left. Not going to do that either. You're meant to activate all these things. Guess what? I'm not going to do it. And then you're near the end of the level. And now I'm at the end. So there's a lot of little things you skip in that level. It's one of the more sequence breaky ones, I guess. However, there is I like to say a lot of these skips are dumb because, well, they are. And the one coming up is also pretty dumb. However, I tend to be pretty consistent at it. This is where I jinx it for the submission video. However, I'd very much like to get it because it looks cool and I can explain why it's cool as well. It's about halfway through the run, or halfway through the level. So I'm going to get this extra flower just to make sure I have enough. So you're meant to charge that bucket in the bottom right. I'm just going to jump off that laser platform that is totally meant to kill you. To the point where the developer doesn't know why you can jump off of it within a frame. Like, the logic of the game is meant to kill you on the first frame you land it on. However, I don't know, we just confuse the game into not killing us. I'm not quite sure. However, that's a sequence of not only jumping off laser platforms of death, but also doing a couple of double jumps on top as well. So it's quite... there's a lot going on there to be able to skip so much of the level. This is a nice laid-back level as well, actually. So this is pretty good for donations, shouting out charities, and generally asking the developer questions as well. Because I've spoken to the developer quite a lot. We get along despite the fact that, you know, I'm exploiting glitches that, some of which he's cool with. Double jump he probably doesn't like that much, hence he patched it, but, you know. Ooh, that was close. This is a very minor time save. You're meant to charge and uncharge a lot of buckets there, but I end up only charging one. Let's hope I don't get hit by these things. There's a very specific sequence of jumps there that I just did. it's very close. There's a pixel's worth of, or a few pixels worth of leeway to keep a platform loaded, and that's what I just did to be able to get through. Free Fire is one of my favourite levels, casually and I'd say generally in the speedrun as well. You get a lot of platforms, and by a lot I mean a lot. And you're meant to be using them a lot. They give you 50 for a reason. Practically everything is lasers. There are a few platforms that they put these key enemies on, but you're meant to be using these to stay safe. However, if you know the whole layout, you can just fall through the whole level. And then you boost jump all the way back up. You also go here, which we like to call the flower bed. There's a lot of collectibles here. It means that you don't have to get as many in other levels. It looks like you're going quite out of your way, but it is totally worth it to collect all of those. And now there's a lot of boost jumping, so if you can hear my keyboard, you probably hear a lot of tapping. That's because there is a lot of tapping. Ooh, that key got me good. That's revenge for killing all its brothers. It's very sad. So this is, yeah, it's halfway through the run in terms of level count, not quite halfway in terms of time. But by the end of World 3, you're pretty much halfway through. Because there are 5 worlds and a bonus, not bonus, a sort of secret, not even secret. There's a last world. Thank you, Nomad. I appreciate the shoutouts. You used to have to take a laser platform jump. The frame perfect thing I said should kill you. But double jumping's a thing, so you don't need to do that anymore. And you skip a few little sections here and there as well. There are a lot of minor time saves with double jumps that are harder to pinpoint, but if you see a jump that looks higher than it should be, that's me double jumping. If you hear me double tap, then that's me double jumping. I haven't really described some of the gimmicks of these levels as well. Some of the enemies just speak for themselves. This is, oh, come on, magnets that absorb your platform, and that section at the end actually freezes your platform in place. It's kind of a reference to how the game started. It used to be that you made platforms, but they were stationary until sort of partway through development, the developer decided to let you surf on them, and it's a lot more satisfying to surf on them than have them stationary, to be honest. This is one of those. This is an example of a level where you should be able to skip a lot with double jump, but it just roots so many flowers out that it's not worth it. So you play this fairly normally. I say fairly. Here's some manipulation of how you collect platforms. These enemies you destroy, and they give you a platform. However, they will respawn when you land. So you can actually, in certain scenarios, land, like here, but keep your platform shooting, and it means you can get more platforms than you should do, and skip whole sections. Now, if you liked the tutorial skip from earlier, you'll see me do it again for a few times. We'll see if I can get it earlier, or at all, because it's hard. So it's coming up shortly. By shortly, I mean right at the very end. In fact, I'm going to get these, actually. Those are quite important. Okay, narrowly got that. So I'm going to collect these, and then I'm going to try this setup. Close. I'm going to try one more time, and then I'll go for the normal way. Ah, that's close. Okay, I'm going for the normal strat. There's only so much you can try and do of showing off very, very hard tricks. And the normal strat might look like, why didn't you just do that earlier? Because I want to do the cool things. That looked like a weird death. That was me trying to do a cool thing again. I'm trying to jump off the... Oh, that's less cool. That is considerably less cool. You know what this does mean, though, everyone watching at home? It means I can try the glitch again. So that's totally the reason I did it. And not just because I accidentally missed a jump. I'm going to destroy that. It'll be annoying. Ah, wasn't quite yet. I'm going to try one more time. It's a very tight jump. Not only do you have to do some quite tight double jumps as well, you have to do what we tend to call peak jumps. It's pretty much just jumping at the highest height. However, I'm going to try this as well because I'm very, very silly. I'll try it one more time because I'm very, very silly. And I'm not quite silly enough today. I'll be very patient here. There, I got into the goal. You get some severe time loss here and there. It's very hard to get a near flawless run. And I want to show off cool things. But the hard thing about that jump is, and a lot of the double jumps that look quite tight, is that not only are you getting the very tight inputs to do 2 jumps in one, you're trying to get the highest jump, which in itself is frame perfect. After 21 frames, you're at the peak of your jump, and no more or less. You're only at the peak for a very short window. I've never been clipped there. That's interesting. That's never happened before. I can tick that off the bucket list. So that generally speaking sort of explains how hard those tricks are. A lot of stars have to align for those things to work, so it is quite difficult. Just putting it out there. Speedrunning can be difficult. Needing 26 flowers here isn't great. There are certain skips I can't do because of it, but we'll see. You can double jump immediately at the start there, however I need to route in a few more flowers. I will, however, do some double jumping here. You're meant to go all the way to the right to load that platform just below me there. Ooh, there we go. However, you don't really need to do that because double jumping. There's a running theme with what tends to make these levels faster, and it involves double jumping. Like here. There we go, another double jump. Those lasers don't kill you on the first frame that they visually appear, so it can look quite tight. I'm going to try and do the Tony Hawk. There, that's cool. I just grinded that. I don't believe I need those, because I think some other things should have been destroyed, but I'm going to get them anyway. Yeah. I'm going to try one trick. That's not how the trick starts, but we'll see. That's not quite how it works either. Oh! You took it away from me. That's quite rude. Okay, I'll do this the normal way, sadly. So you could see what I was going for there at least. I was getting very close to double jumping all the way up there without having to charge this. As you can see, this can be quite a slow section if played normally. And that's the Underworld free. Thankfully, I haven't had to replay any levels. I've had to do a few levels a little slowly. But not having to replay a level is pretty much what you're aiming for. In a marathon run, you know, marathon luck and all. As you can see, I now have a drill. And this drill can pierce a lot of things. You'd think that with something that shoots right underneath you and to your side, that you'd be pretty OP. But they have a lot of enemies, and there are things that kind of subvert it. You'll see in the next level how it manages to add some difficulty despite all the weapons you have, essentially. So there will be a bid war suggestion for killing or saving the bees. Right now, I'm just trying to play the game. So yes, even the heavens. So I'm just trying to play the game, so I'm not going to try and save the bees. However, saving the bees is primarily about not killing them in this level. I'm also going to do one glitch that might not work on certain PCs. It involves lag. So if you hold print screen, I found in a few different games, it lags. And depending on how the game deals with said lag, you can do weird and wonderful things. And in this game, a lot of things are rhythm based. You know, enemies are moving to the beat, platforms are timed depending on the rhythm. I'm falling down a lot, ignore me. And it just so happens that holding print screen and lagging the game that's very rhythm based will end up making the cycles very, very wacky. I also managed to ruin some splits there. Very sorry. Mostly apologising to myself. The splits are less important for a marathon submission run. So that print screen glitch will come about later. I doubt it's going to work on high-end machines, so it probably won't work in marathon settings. I already know firsthand it didn't at ESA. It's not so important. That level, you just hang around and try and kill and save bees a lot. And in the next level as well, there's quite a tight cycle you're meant to get if you don't just break it with print screen. Now in this level, we have something called, it's simplistically called platform mashing. The main gimmick of this level is that these flowers eat your platform, as you can probably tell. However, you can mash the input for platforms, which actually gives you a few pixels height each time, because it's a general property when you put a platform down to move you up a little bit. And so when you mash the platform, you can move up a little bit, 5 times in a row and get to heights you're not meant to get to. I actually found that out through the developer himself. Pretty much just told me that was the thing. He thought I'd already found it, or he thought, oh, he's a speedrunner. You know that you can do this, obviously, and I didn't. So thank you to developers telling us about speed strats. It's very nice. It's a feature when the developer tells you about it, to be honest. So I could charge that bucket, or I could double jump. That's fine too. Sadly, no skips here. I have to open this gate with this. In fact, this is the first time the gates are revealed. Not the most interesting gimmick compared to other levels, but they are a thing. And now, double jumping again. An intentional hit there. Anytime I have a heart left and I'm right near a checkpoint, I will take an intentional hit, just for safety. It doesn't waste too much time. Oh. Okay, third time's a charm. So, floor is now lava. I only landed there. I respawn there as soon as I get hit. It's basically death abuse, but you're technically not dying. You're only losing a heart, and it just so happens the laser properties warp you back. It's more like when you fall in a hole in a game, and you don't die, but you do get respawned back to where you last were safely sitting or standing. But I tend to call it a laser warp just because you have to get hit by a laser. They're the only things with the property to warp you back. This level is another little bit of downtime. So every world has, 1 or 2 levels that you can commentate throughout. As you can tell, I've been able to pretty much talk the whole way through. But there are a few levels where there's not too much to talk about, which I think is kind of useful in a marathon run. You need a little bit of downtime for, in charity marathons, for donations and such. So I like to just point it out just to make it very clear that, I know where there's some downtime for commentators to slot in 1 donation. Very short level, so that would be a 1 donation thing, most likely. Now, this this has something interesting. I will do this for the sake of my marathon submission run, because I'm going to try and do a very dangerous trick. The only dangerous trick in this game. And if I don't get it, I will donate $50 to charity. And if I do get it, it's quite a cool, tight trick, and I save a lot of time. I lose a lot of time if I don't get it, I'll be honest. But unless I'm very far behind, and the marathon's quite far behind, it's worth doing. It's the one thing that I will do a big donation for. No point for deaths. It's quite hard to do a donations per death thing for this game. But this glitch or trick that I'm talking about will be coming up shortly. In fact, I've missed a trick there as well, actually. Unfortunately. All these double jump things are quite new. You can double jump over there. But here is the dangerous trick. That box that you can break, you can get under it. You're not meant to. Okay, weirdly enough, there's one of three things that can happen. So I'm not sure what happens there. I'll probably donate $25. You can get soft locked inside that box. This platform right underneath the box is considered safe ground to respawn you in. So the game will respawn you inside the box and you're trapped forever. Which is rather unfortunate because you have to, you know, replay the level again. But it's kind of funny. Soft locks are funny. To me anyway. And it's only a 40-second time loss, so it's not negligible, but I think it's worth it for the whole donation incentive thing. Pretty much, you clap if I get it, you clap if I don't, is what happened to ESA. Spoilers, I didn't get it. They clapped, felt weird, and then I donated $50 to charity. So, everyone wins. This is actually the longest level in the game. I guess if there was a candidate for we would love there to be a skip, this would be one of them. If you could somehow skip to the goal straight away, because this well doesn't need too many flowers rooted into it. If you could skip straight there, it would be major. We'd very much love someone to discover something like that. Though, generally speaking, if there was a way to warp to the goal, we're probably talking about a very major glitch. So I'm not sure what we do with that kind of knowledge. So we charge up this bucket, and similar to 2.5, the level design completely changes as soon as we charge that bucket. You get these, you unload some force field and load others, and the level's fundamentally completely different when you're climbing up it. There's also a very vertical level in the second half, so there's a lot of boost jumping. And then there's a lot of bonking on the same ceiling. Good question, Nomad. It's worth bringing this up in the marathon submission, actually. It's pretty quiet, I'll be honest. Oryx, exactly. Riven has mentioned the one other runner of this game that's active at the moment. So Oryx is someone who was competing for any percent with current patch, and now is starting to learn this. He's carried away with a few speedruns, but he is going to get back into this as well. So Oryx and I will be going back and forth, optimizing this run for sure over the next few months. But the original record for the current patch, so not this, was 101.58 that I got, and his run was 102.30, I believe. So pretty close times. He also pretty much holds nearly all the ILs, because he's kind of insane. The ILs differ in the sense that you do not need to collect any flowers. So you just speedrun the whole individual levels, that's what IL stands for, without having to worry about any collection. You can go through as many crazy things as you want because of it. Except the one that Riven has, because when we discovered that print screen glitch, Riven is the only one who has ever tried to do it in an IL setting. So if you want a free IL, you can get that one. Yep, I'm shouting you out, Riven. I'm calling you out, even. But shout-outs in general to other community members would be to Emoji. She was really pushing for this to get picked up. She doesn't run it now. It's quite a physically intensive game with on keyboard as well as controller. So it's kind of fair enough there, and she wanted to rest her hands, but she's very good community member in trying to spread the word, and she routed a few other categories like all levels, because there are some bonus levels you can unlock. Generally speaking, the most vied for category is any percent. Everything else only has like 1 or 2 runners, so I'd love to get this into a GDQ just to spread the word. It's a pretty obscure indie game. It's a quite lengthy run, but it's getting shorter and shorter by the day, so I think it's totally worth submitting to a marathon. There's so much that's going on, even the one other thing I like to sell it on is that it looks cool. Might sound a bit weird, but you know, the art style and the music for this game is astounding. So even if you either don't understand what's going on, or you're just not that interested in speedrunning, you'll probably want to watch. I should probably explain what I'm doing there. So it's a platform holding glitch like the other world. Let me see. This is going to be a little bit harder. I'm going to try this. So this grounded double jump I've spoken about a little bit, that's how hard it is. So I think I'm going to stop showing that off. Grounded double jumps are hard. It is a potential very difficult backup for when you don't have enough platforms, because I just about wasted one more than I needed to. You can just play the level normally though, like I just did there. So that's the backup. Just play the level like anyone else would. And yeah, the aesthetic's pretty cool. Yeah, everything else has 1 to 2 runners any percent, has an entire free, as pointed out in my chat at the moment. So we would love more runners. And you get baited here. When this game originally came out, I was watching quite a few people play casually. I wanted to discover as much as possible, you know. If someone stumbled upon a glitch, I wanted to know about it. So I was trying to watch everyone. And so was the developer, Demo One Day Games, or Monomer as he referred to online as well. And he would wait until that specific bit of the run, not the run, sorry, the playthrough people were doing, and say like, you have to play that level. You get a really cool power-up. And everyone was like, I'm going to trust this developer. He seems like a cool dude. He wouldn't lie. And then you get baited. You don't actually get anything. And then he just laughs at you. In your own stream. It's very cruel. True story. I saw him do it twice. I'm trying to catch a very tight cycle here. The cycle's even tighter if you can't print screen. If you can't do the print screen lag. But so I'll sort of demonstrate it. You're trying to break this just before it warps, like that bit. There. I just about broke it in time. Also, I keep holding print screen there, but it only actually works on the next one. I pressed the wrong print screen button. It just so happens that the Steam print screen button is right next to the normal print screen button. And so it makes an annoying noise as well. That happens sadly a lot, I'll be honest. It is right next to the other key. It is also very dark in my room, so I can't see the print screen button. This won't happen in most other running scenarios. Excuse me. Anyway, 5-2. You would think that this late into the game, because you're pretty far into the run, that you would probably stop getting new platforms, but you don't. You get these nice little bouncy boys, like I like to call them. They're just like trampolines. Though the fun thing is that the main gimmick is that you get your platform back every time you jump on it. So you're meant to kind of jump a little bit to get them back. You can also get them back from the bottom, which is very exploitable. You'll see it in the level after next, where you pretty much just skip entire sections because you get your platform back like this and then jump on top of it. So, you know, a slight oversight. I don't think people casually tend to figure it out, but I sure as hell figured it out. Ooh, that wasn't very good. As you could tell by my just sort of like descending ooh. Pretty much any time you're in midair and you die and you haven't landed for a while, it's probably an F. That's what I'd call it. It's probably an F. Okay, so I should have routed enough flowers in here. Like, this is up there with World 2 in being quite a tight route for flowers. So you really want to get enough so that you can play the last level optimally. If you have to collect 30 in the last level, fine. it's not the worst time loss, it's probably 10-15 seconds, but you preferably want to only need to get about 15. It means you can just fall through the whole level. That was a very good dodge. Sadly, I dodged an enemy I was trying to destroy. Ooh, I nearly got that cycle. It's actually slightly easier with double jumping, in the sense that you can rush it and then double jump your way through and collect enough of these little platform items to get to the end. But sadly I didn't. And any area in here, dying pretty much warps you back to the start because there are lasers everywhere and not many places are safe. I'm going to do a mini floor is now lava sort of thing here. I haven't landed on any safe ground, so I'm going to respawn back up here. And that cycle was a bit awkward, but I got through. Okay, let's see. 76 is very good. If I collect around 10 in here, I'll need 19 in the last level. So, you know, quick maths. Here's the broken thing. There's section 1 down. There's section 2. There's section 3. Yes, I'm going to count down every single one. Have to wait a little bit here. There's section 4. Haven't got a great cycle here, but that's fine. Actually, that's quite good. I can land there really safely. That's section 5 for anyone counting along at home. Ooh, that's close. Okay, I'm trying this again because it's a cool little exploit. And it means you can skip every section. That was really tight. That's section 6. And section 7, unfortunately, you can't skip, so you stop counting there. You can do this at least. I'd call that a skip. And so yeah, that's the whole level. So yeah, it's pretty fun. 19. 19 is pretty good. I only have to break a few extra bulbs in here. Otherwise I can try and fall very fast. Which Oryx rooted this out. It's very nice. Fiddlesticks. I've never seen that happen before. That's a weird cycle. Thank you for the host role. I'm finishing off my GDQ submission video. There we go. Good luck with memes. Sadly, my GDQ submission video isn't as full of memes as my actual run will probably be. But it has a few, like the whole light display. But yeah, generally speaking, most techniques have been discussed now in the whole run. There's a hell of a lot to discuss in the first half, but after that you can just settle with general commentary. I can thankfully use that to my advantage. I can get a heart back and I can collect these as well. And I can go the easy route. So all of that was entirely intentional. Oh, except I have to collect this, so. Yeah, so talking about memes, this level's a bit of a meme. Okay, let's hope that enemy... That's better. That's what you're meant to do. I'm going to get this heart for safety. But yeah, this is actually the last level in what's kind of considered the main game. You then have a sort of... almost like a post-apocalyptic post-game sort of thing. That's coming up very shortly. Essentially, it's not called World 6, it's called World X, and you'll see why very shortly. So you get a choice. You can either get the Infinity or just finish the game. Actually, this evil dude wants you to do neither. If you try to jump to either of those, they destroy the block, like they did just then. So the fastest thing to do is actually just to jump up in place. It's optimal. to do that rather than to try and actually collect anything. And there we go. That is the 5 worlds done. And we're on the final world, World X. And so this might look a little familiar to you if you were watching the start of the run. And that's because you're doing the tutorial again, but with as many platforms as you want. So no double jumping anymore. The double jumping is now not necessary. However, everything's kind of a bit messed up. There are a lot of lasers of varying colours for whatever reason. I guess they're kind of electricity as well. So that's the double jump section done. And now we're on to X World. So just like the tutorial, these levels are reimaginings of the original levels. This is 1-1, the first level you played. However, everything's a little off. Everything's a little shaky. There's some acid. The bulbs are trying to kill you, which is kind of understandable. You've been killing the bulbs throughout the whole game, so they kind of want their comeuppance, or their revenge. I think comeuppance was the wrong word. So they're flying at you. And they're bats, so as you probably know if you've played any video game, bats are the worst enemies ever. And they can be very annoying. Thankfully, if you're fast enough, none of their movement really impacts you, but if you slow down even a smidge, they can hit you. And if they stun you into a laser, that's a true combo. You get true combo into laser, it's very bad. You end up warping like pretty much back to the start. Because the horrifying thing about these levels is that you don't really want to land. However, if you don't land, you have nowhere to respawn if you get hit by a laser. You lose quite a bit of time if you do that. You can end runs having an enemy bop you into some lasers. It's kind of sad. But yeah, this is a reimagining of 1-3, the level we did a damage boost in. No damage boosting required here, actually. You can do a nice little thing where you move a platform with your drill and just about sort of thread the needle, like I did just then. So you just do this. So no hits, that's always good. Oh, it's gold. Golds are cool. There's also some very minor menuing tech, I guess, which we didn't know about until, again, the developer decided to tell us, which is that the button used to switch kind of platform, so if you see this above my head, because I'm switching the kind of platform I'm putting, that button also switches between worlds. So if you've unlocked a world, you can press that button and it takes you to world 1, 2, 3, etc. Not useful in any percent. Not useful in the main worlds of any percent. However, in these worlds, you actually end up skipping a lot of movement in the menu. It actually says cumulatively around 10 seconds, so... And, the seconds count. I think the seconds count is it's a pretty good pun, actually. I'm probably going to write that down. Except that's a general phrase. I think it doubles up as a pun. Another thing about these levels in general is that because you have infinite platforms, boost jumping is a big thing. I'd say that if someone doesn't like the concept of boost jumping, you can play the first 5 worlds and it doesn't have a major impact. Sadly, in these worlds, if you're not a big fan of mashing, which you don't have to match, you can do it very rhythmically, that's what I tend to do. But if it's a bit too fast for you, these worlds are going to be quite hard to do as fast as an optimal runner would. Thankfully you can ride that crusher to victory. Had a feeling that was a gold. Just had this speed runner feeling. And also it told me it was a gold. That's always nice. So this run, as you can tell, isn't perfect, but the run I did get, I've done about... It doesn't sound like a lot. I've done 10 runs of the new route. However, I've done around 300 or so runs of the old run and done 500 hours in the game. So this run isn't great, but the run I did get is pretty good. And this is probably an example of a quite unlucky marathon run. Hence the conservative estimate of 108 should be fine. Both of those enemies were very much wanting to kill me. Thankfully I killed them first. That's another gold. I'm getting very good X World at least. I'm probably going to eat my words soon because this level is quite hard. It used to be the level I hated the most. I've got used to it now. Generally speaking, there aren't many levels I hate, that I die in a lot. But this one has a lot of these erratic lasers going around. And if you don't know the pattern or you're trying to rush, you can very easily get sniped by them. Like this one, you can get sniped by that one that was just about to hit me. But I time it quite well now. I've done a few runs of this game, so I shouldn't get hit that much. I'm waiting for the inevitable karma to hit me swiftly around the face. That's a little bit of karma. I shouldn't really bonk my head there a lot. I take that bit slowly because you can get, again, sniped by the lasers because they go slightly off center. You don't want that. It's bad. It's slow. So only 2 levels remaining. This is homage to 4-1, the level I was trying to kill or save the bees. The kill or save the bees incentive is only really for the original 4-1 because there are a lot of bees and you have to take it slowly anyway. It doesn't really apply to anything else, otherwise it would be a very difficult incentive. So that's generally speaking how I'll try and explain the incentive to people. So that's a nice little damage abuse there. That one shoots a lot slower than everything else for some reason, so you have to wait a while. You really don't want to get hit there unintentionally. That one really wanted my blood as well. Not that Octahedron has any blood. It's just a shape. This is a PG game. I actually don't know what the rating is, but I think it's PG if it has a PEGI rating. So this level is very boost jumpy, as you can probably tell. It's got probably the longest sequence of boost jumping because you just have to go straight up. Oh, that just sniped me, and that's what happens when you get sniped by a laser. Just thought I'd demonstrate it for the sake of the marathon. You know, I don't want any stone unturned. I want to show everything about the game, including the stuff where you die. And that's what happens when you don't get sniped by lasers, so just putting it out there. And now, you probably think, well, do you have an intense final level or something? You actually get a boss. It kind of comes as a surprise to some people that this game has a boss, but it does. I think it's pretty cool. It's not like an auto-scroll or anything. Restarting the boss makes it come out a little faster. PEGI 7 for violence. Yes, I questioned the level of violence in this game, but it is what it is. I think Squeenix were trying to make sure no one complained that like a 3-year-old played a game where you shoot lasers at spiders. Yeah, it is what it is. But yes, this boss pretty much involves shooting the laser at it as often as possible. The boss can take a hit every 21 frames, so roughly 3 times a second. So there's no point spamming the laser. It's way more efficient to just keep the laser out at all times. As you can see, it does bring up a force field, so there are times where you can't shoot it. But you might as well just wait until that phase is done. You also have phases like this. This is quite a difficult phase until you find out you can just guard yourself with these platforms. You might also hear some like shattering of glass noises. That's every face of the icosahedron getting destroyed. Because not only do you have the health bar, but that's some feedback for the boss gradually getting more and more destroyed. More feedback I've got from the dev. There's a lot I've learned from him that I wouldn't have noticed in normal gameplay. There's a lot of subtleties to this game actually, and there is a semblance of an obscure plot to this game. You kind of have to work it out. Because I do skip the opening and closing cutscenes, sadly. So we are halfway down, so as soon as you get to half of its health, it starts spawning enemies to make it a little bit harder. But that's pretty much it. You generally shouldn't die. Ideally, you can even just not lose any lives, but it can be quite hard because it can just give you a certain phase that's near impossible to avoid, especially if you want to just keep hitting it as well, like I do. Like there, there was nothing I could really do. This is a pretty good time. Getting around 2:15 here for the final phase is pretty good. And timer ends as soon as the last hit of the boss is taken, because that's when your input gets taken away. So I'm taking intentional death here, so I have 3 hearts for the final bit. And I'll wait a few moments. I'm gonna chill on this platform. I'm gonna spin my head, because you can spin that sometimes, and spin it backwards. And then I'll start shooting. Generally speaking, you could time this 3 times a second if you wanted to. You can also just mash, so I just mash. Okay, ooh, narrowly sub 106. That's pretty good. Pretty good for a marathon submission run, at least. But yeah, that is my submission video. Not the best run ever, but that's kind of what marathons tend to be. Also, sub 106 in the in-game timer, which is more important. Hopefully I've discussed everything. I've tried to go over every single technique, everything about the run, the community. I'll have a description to try and include anything I might have missed. Thank you very much for anyone who's watched, anyone in my stream, and anyone watching it for the GDQ submission as well. I very much hope you take it into consideration. It's a pretty cool game. I very much hope I can get it in. But that's it for now. That's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching.